What is good people?
Welcome to Growing Up Low Country. I'm Liz.
I'm Danny, and new year, new month, new episode. Man, glad to be back here, man. Snow day, wouldn't allow us to record in person, but you know what? We do this for the people. So we honor the request. So here we are, all things considered. So speaking of which, this holiday season, we I saw the you and the crew. Well, before I get into that, I had the pleasant surprise of running the you and the crew at the College of Charleston women's basketball game this past Friday night. You
That's
got a
right.
text. I got a text from you, and you were like, "Are you at the game?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then you texted a picture of where you and the crew were sitting. And I was like, "Oh wow, they're here too, man. That's all right."
I kind of don't want the secret to get out, but then I want everybody to come cheer. Like it's the best deal in town. You walk in, it's free, and you're sitting courtside. Like
Yeah.
you are in the action.
Yes.
And I would like to go on record saying that I yelled at the ref about number 13 staying in the paint and a move-in pick, and she got called on both.
See,
So you can affect the game, is what I'm saying if you show up.
yes, you did your part. Unfortunately, they ran out of steam
Yeah.
at the end. They put forth a valiant effort. They cut that deficit down something serious, but ultimately it wasn't enough. But if I'm not mistaken, they're still in first place. So kudos to the College of Charleston women's basketball team. Again, bet it's free. You can't beat it. You can sit wherever you want. So
Yeah, and it's entertaining. It's good basketball,
yes.
fundamentally sound basketball. It's great. The kids had a blast. I do have one bone to pick. We danced so hard for the dance cam, and they would not come to us. They stayed on these same little children that were they were moderately cute. I'll give them that. But we danced so hard, and they did not give us any screen time.
Oh man, I'll put a letter in the suggestion box next time I go there.
Thanks.
So we had the holiday stretch. So I saw you and the crew. Y'all took a little trip. So we talk about what the Christmas Christmas excursion was like.
Yeah, we went to Toronto, Canada. Had never been, just kind of threw a dart at a map. We had some qualifications that we were looking for. We wanted it to be cold. That it checked that box for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere we'd never been, and we like to explore in a bigger city. And here's a cool thing about Toronto that I didn't realize is it has the largest underground shopping area in the world. So it has all these tunnels that are connected. And so when it's cold, surface area, you can go below and it's just this like subway for walking. And it was so neat. Now, I will say it's hard to navigate if for me, I'm not from there. So I was having to figure out, I need like to see buildings and a horizon to kind of get my bearings, but
Mm-hmm.
it was something to see. And they have, like Chinatown and Little Italy. I mean, it's just like any huge city, a lot like Canada's New York, but the people are so nice. Even the homeless people are
Really?
incredibly kind. And yeah, I saw them, and like you're walking towards them, and they'll just be like, "No pressure, but if you could spare something, that would be great. But like, I understand if you can't." Just not pushy.
Wow.
Um, and we ran into so many people that we just got to chatting with them, and everybody is up for a friendly conversation, and it was pretty great. I would definitely recommend, and I would definitely go back. And Casey definitely wants to go back during baseball season. He and Callum caught a minor league hockey game, which was they said it was pretty good. And but I would like to get up there in the summertime too.
Yeah. Yeah. Toronto's on my bucket list as well.
Get up there. And your sister came to town?
She did. Yeah,
Yeah.
she came home from she flew home from Nashville. So she had just recently moved back, but yeah, it's always a treat meeting, getting to hug my sister. I went to go pick her up, but her flight kept getting delayed, and she got in like a quarter after midnight. And when I got to the airport, I didn't realize how much traffic was going to be there on, I believe
What night?
that was, no, that was the 23rd. And
Like
man, it was just,
large biggest
yeah,
day for. right?
Yeah, but yeah, we got to hang out, and Christmas Eve we had a big oyster roast at the parents' house, and a couple of my cousins and my aunt came over. It was a really good time. And then Christmas, mom got me another onesie for her annual onesie bequeathing to me. So I was thankful for that. And she got me some wacky socks like she always does every year. And it's crazy how I used to dread getting socks as a kid, but now as an adult, I'm like, give me more, give me more. But yeah, Christmas
So
was
you took the day, right?
yeah,
I mean, snowed in, like this only happens a handful of times in our lives. This
yes,
snow day we got
yes.
today. Kids don't have school. Where did you go? Where's the best hill near you?
There really aren't any hills near me. I just went out in the backyard, or my parents' backyard. They got it cleared out a little bit. They got a little trail back in the woods. So, I was just frolicking and cartwheeling through the snow, like I was telling you earlier. I was channeling my inner 6-year-old. Again, if you gotta carve out some time to get in touch with your inner child. I swear by that.
Hmm. Well, we don't have our family of four amongst us. We have one set of gloves that's waterproof, so we had
Oh.
to share the waterproof gloves. And but we did have a boogie board like you use in the ocean. So we used that to find some hills that are around here. Callum turned us onto a really nice hill behind North Charleston High School. The
Hmm.
problem is, slide hard enough, you end up in Butte Avenue. The other one, you end up in
Oh.
Sproul Avenue. Living in
Wow.
North Charleston is just different,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, but man, I'm still freezing. Like I cannot get warm. I'm just not used to being that cold for that long.
Yeah.
We going about 9 o'clock and we probably stayed outside because it was bright sunshine. Once the snow was over, it was blue skies and
Hmm.
beautiful. And so we just got in about 5:30 and stayed out all day sledding, well, sledding, uh, and they had a huge snowball fight in the middle of Park Circle with all the neighbors and stuff. That was pretty fun.
Nice.
And but again, if you only got one glove, you can only do so much damage.
That's true. So now getting into the meat and potatoes of what we're here for. Without, we always got to start with the teacher spotlight. So Liz, who was your teacher spotlight?
Have we done this one already, Coach Gooden?
We haven't. That's a good
Okay.
call.
All right. So Coach Gooden was our PE teacher. What grades? That was elementary school
I was
or
already ready.
all right, okay. Fourth and fifth grade.
Yes.
And to me, he seemed like the biggest man with the biggest hands of any human I had ever seen. But he was so kind and endlessly patient,
Yes.
endlessly patient. And he always encouraged me to, dribble. Like even if we were doing something else, he'd like keep dribbling, practice, practice. And he just always encouraged and he was funny. He was low key really funny and just beloved by everybody, I think. I mean, how could you not love Coach Gooden?
Right. And Coach Gooden, that's a good pull. I remember when he was my PE teacher, and he saw that I took a liking to punting the football whenever we went outside to play. So once he saw me taking a liking to punting, he actually gave me some tips to actually kick the ball higher and farther than I was doing before he gave me those tips. And I tell you what, when we would go to recess and we would play football out on the playground, and I would be the designated punter. I was like, man, I just put my everything into those kicks. I took pride in that. And I went to Coach Gooden. I was like, your tips really helped me out. I was like, thanks. So
Laces
yeah,
out.
yes, laces out.
Yeah. And and even when we were older, I would see he'd always come to the games and stuff, like if we were playing high school games and always, quiet. And he was never pushy, not loud in your face, But as a person on the sidelines, he's somebody you'd love to see on the sidelines, quietly giving you a little encouragement, you know?
Yeah.
So
And matter
who
of
you
fact, go ahead.
got? No, sorry. No, go ahead. More on
I
Coach
was
Good.
I was going to say I actually saw him in Walmart about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, looks exactly the same.
Oh, good for him. Well, he's always fit.
Yeah,
He's in fitness.
yeah, that's true.
Um, and who's your person?
My teacher spotlight is Mr. Ravenel. He was my geometry teacher in 11th grade. So I took geometry in 10th grade, took college prep geometry. Well, actually, if we're going to keep it all the way 100, mom suggested that I take college prep geometry because it would look good on my transcript, and I knew math was my glaring weakness. So much so, I took college prep geometry in 10th grade with Miss O'Quinn, and that's literally the only class at Berkeley that I flunked and had to retake. I kid you not, Liz. I think I finished the year with like a 48 in that class. And I actually tried hard. Like I had tutors and everything, and things were just not clicking for me. So then I get Mr. Ravenel for geometry in 11th grade, and kind of like what you said with Coach Gooden, he was incredibly patient with me. Sometimes I would stay after class, and he would really help me help simplify these geometric equations for me. And I think I ended up getting like a high B in that class. And he was just really, he was just he was a really cool teacher. And one of the things I loved was, um, my guy John Evans, he was in the class with me and he was just a class clown. And he was like, "Hey, Danny, I'm going to get thrown out of his class today. Watch this." And it would be the dumbest things he would ask him, like not pertaining to math. He would raise his hand. He's like, yeah, John. And he not even a question. He'd go, "Hey, Mr. Ravenel, did you know gangsters don't dance? They boogie." And then Mr. Ravenel would just go, "Hey, get out of my class, John. Go to the office." He wore that like a badge of honor. But yeah, big shout out to Mr. Ravenel. You really helped me out more than you know. I think he's actually a principal now. I can't remember what school he's at, but he's a principal now.
He was another one that just had a quiet presence that was very calming.
Yes.
He never got ruffled that I could tell. If he did get ruffled, he didn't show it. He
Yeah.
just very cool.
Man, so that's our teacher spotlight. Now the next topic, and this is something that everybody can relate to, irrational childhood fears. So Liz, what were I'm curious to hear what some of your irrational childhood fears were.
Okay, well, I have a point I want to make on this.
Okay.
I can argue that we are now in our mid 40s. So if we had fears as children, they may have been rational because it worked for us. Like we survived, right? So we were probably fearful of the right things because we made it this far, right?
Yeah.
I will say, statistically speaking, there are things I was afraid of that probably didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like I was very scared of alligators. But if anybody was going to get eaten by an alligator, it probably would have been me, statistically speaking, because I was in the water with the alligators a lot. And I always had my head on a swivel. And there was a period of time my dad was a member at Osita Hunting Club, and they had a big wild boar problem. And I was terrified of getting touched by a wild boar. And I
Yeah.
had the hunting boots that dad always made me wear. And I would practice running in the backyard to see how fast. And I was like, fast a wild boar runs. Like, I wonder if, like, how long and how fast does a wild boar run? And I would practice trying to get away. This is, we're talking about growing up in the low country, but you might think this was an irrational fear, but it was not that irrational because people had gator encounters and wild boar encounters if you stay out in the woods and in the water long enough, you know?
It's true.
Also, I was afraid of getting kidnapped because it was the 80s and people talked about that a lot. Again, statistically speaking, I don't
Yeah.
think they would take the rotund redheaded child. Like they're gonna go for an easier mark, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what were yours? I mean, like, and let's just give ourselves a benefit of the doubt, give ourselves a little grace and say that they were just fears, like maybe not irrational.
Well, all right, you know what? That's a good point. But while we're keeping it on the subject of the 80s, there were three things that I had a healthy fear of. The first one was getting rabies, and especially living in Long Ridge where it's just nothing but wild creatures out in these woods. It terrified me. When it got to the point where, somebody threw the football too far in the woods, I was like, you know what, that football is going to stay there because I don't want to get rabies.
Hmm.
And
I
an
don't think that's an irrational fear. That is a very rational fear, I think.
You know what? That's true. That is true. That is very true. Then my second fear, and TV really poisoned my mind with this fear, getting sucked in drowning in quicksand. I just
Right.
knew that I was going to be a victim of sinking in quicksand and dying. And wherever I saw sand, I was like, yeah, keep me far away from that because I see what happens on TV and I don't want to be a statistic. So yeah, quicksand. And the third one, also, um, TV had a part in this one. Being afraid of being in a car that flew off a cliff and and crashed and exploded into a big ball of flames, like they always do in the 80s movies. Like the A Team did not help me at all.
It would have been quick.
It would have been quick, but I wanted to live. I was like 8 years old. I had dreams and aspirations, and dying in a fiery ball of flame was not one of those aspirations. But yeah, those were some of the fears that I had as a child. So
Well, I don't,
go ahead.
Pluff mud is kind of similar to quicksand. Like you could get stuck in pluff mud and not get out of there, and the tide comes up. Again, I'm just saying that you thought things through. And I think that people that have a little fear, a little healthy fear, makes you stronger. And you might, I think if you're afraid of things, you're just paying attention, is all I'm saying.
That's true. You know what? That's a very good way of putting it. So they're not irrational. They were just fears that we had. So now the next subject. If you grew up in Monk's Corner or in Berkeley County and it's a hot summer's day, you want to cool off, you want to relax, you want to spend some quality time with the family. Two places that were the hot spots were Lions Beach and Bonneau Beach. And do you have any memories of those places?
Yes. So Lions Beach was at the end of Broughton Road, and you just dead end in the Lions Beach. And like the YMCA owned it for a little while, the Rotary Club owned it for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Atkins Landon was out there, so you could put your boat in, and like get your bait and tackle and all that out there. It was just and then there were some homes out there. And our friend Brooke and Jill, the Clark sisters, lived out there, and they would sometimes have slumber parties, and that was always a good time. They'd have a fish fry every Friday.
Oh, nice.
Um, we'd go out there. So that was really fun. And then Bonneau Beach, short stay. I worked for the YMCA all through, like, I guess I started like 98, 99, and there I was working in the summer camps. They would hold a
Really?
camp for all the kids, and a bunch of us were camp counselors. And then Justin Kadama, I think, Jake Metcalf, Jeff Bauman, they were lifeguards out there. So we'd all be out there in the summers with this. I mean, they entrusted us, it seemed like 180 kids. And we were on a lake and they're just going wild. And again, we would have to shut it down because there'd be alligators swimming through the swimming area. So the lifeguards are like, ah, everybody out of the water. Let the gators do their thing. And when we haven't seen them for 10 minutes, then you can get back in the water. And I mean, it was just a
Wow.
kind of flying by the seat of your pants. And that's where that gentleman, he was looking for those megalodon teeth, and he got his arm bitten off by the gator. But because short stay is like a military, it's for retired military folks to hang out or active military. There were a bunch of nurses from Vietnam who were having a reunion out there, and they
Wow.
happened to see this go down. This guy get his arm ripped off, so they saved his life and like stopped the bleeding. I mean, he's simultaneously the most unlucky and luckiest dude that if you're going to get your arm ripped off by a gator, do it in front of a group of nurses from Vietnam, right? Like
Right.
they had the training and the wherewithal to take care of him.
Man, I didn't realize that number one, I didn't realize Brooke and Jill lived out there. And number two, I wasn't privy to that story about the man getting his arm bitten off. That's wild.
And Google that. The Post and Courier had a picture of it, the gator with the arm.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
graphic. You might want to put a notice on here that there's some graphic material, but graphic.
I might put that, I might use that as the cover art. I don't know for this episode.
That's copyrighted French.
But yeah, I remember spending a lot of time going to Lions Beach. I took my swimming lessons at Lions Beach. It was a, I think
Ooh,
it was like a summer camp. And my instructor was it was a guy by the name of
I,
Matt McCoy. I think
mhm. I
he
remember
graduated in
that.
like I think like 93, but he was a I think he was a
Mhm.
lifeguard slash swim instructor. And so he was my swimming instructor at Lions Beach. And didn't they have an arcade at Lions Beach?
Yep,
I
for a
swear they
while,
did.
and it had like a cement floor, I
Yep.
think, and yeah, I don't remember a whole lot about that, but because it wasn't there. I mean, it was there for a long time, but it didn't overlap with our childhood too long, I don't think.
Yeah. Why did they shut Lions
Um,
Beach down? Do you know?
well, I don't know all the details, but I know there was something I think with Santee Cooper maybe, and the state, like there's ownership issues with it. And I know that people had leased their land and then the leases were coming up. And so a lot of people that lived out in Thornley Forest had to make other arrangements. And that was a stressful time. I know that. But I don't know the who owned what and why or who bought it out. But I think now Berkeley County owns it and they're planning to do a huge boat facility thing where you can dry dock and I mean, I saw some plans for it. I don't know what stage they're in on the development, but it'll be developed. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
did you that oh, sorry. Well, that the dike that runs along there,
mm-hmm.
my grandma used to tell me stories about when they built that dike, how she and my Aunt Mert and their siblings and everybody, when they released the water into the lake, they could walk along there. And she said you couldn't take two steps without seeing rattlesnakes up along
Oh.
all of those rocks.
Mm-hmm.
All the snakes from where the lake went, they had to go somewhere. And she said it like the animal, the wildlife was just crazy when they did that.
Wow. I remember the last time I tried to going out to Lions Beach. Might have been, I think it might have been last year. I just drove back there just out of curiosity, and I think there was a Santee Cooper security guy that stopped me. He was like, "You can't come back here." I was like, "All right."
Huh.
So I turned around and left. And I
Well,
think
they
the old
hide.
ball field is and stuff is still back there too.
Spent a lot of nights out there, I know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then Bonneau Beach, we would go out there in the summer times too. And I remember going out in the water and just it was weird because if it was like rock and brick at the floor of the in the floor of that lake, and the amount of times I would cut my feet at the bottom of that at the bottom of the lake. I'm like, man, yeah, let's go back to Lion. I don't let's can we go back to Lions Beach? And we would go back to Lions Beach, and we didn't go back to Bono Beach. But
Yeah. That we those summers like and it's weird, the lake is such a deceiving place because it looks so calm when it's calm. But when
yeah,
a storm comes up and people aren't suspect it can be I think more dangerous in the ocean because people don't respect it enough going in. And don't understand how quickly it can change. I can remember seeing people and you could see a storm coming across and they would be from off.
yep,
And I try to say, maybe, I'm not a great idea to put in right now. Oh, it'll be fine. And boy, nice fast boats just getting banged all to pieces up
yeah.
again when they trying to come in real fast. And Another thing about that I loved about Bonneau Beach, you know who the cook was out there?
Mm-mm.
Um, in the summers, Jolita Copeland used to cook out there.
Really?
Yes, and she made the best mozzarella sticks. I only like Jolita's. Her mama cooked out there too, and I only like their mozzarella sticks. And I've tried mozzarella sticks all over the world. After that, none of them compare. So
Wow. I did not know that. Man, R.I.P. Jolita.
I know
Mm,
she was amazing, and talk about a funny person,
she
like
was. Yes,
hilarious.
she was. So, man, now we're getting to the portion of the program where we ask each other, what did we learn on this episode? So, Liz, what did you learn on this episode?
Um, I learned that Matt McCoy taught you how to swim. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I learned about your fears, and I would have thought, but I shouldn't be. I'm not surprised by those fears. Those fears make a lot of sense to me. So, but I learned that those were motivators for you to stay
Right.
strong.
And what I learned that a guy got his arm bitten off by a gator looking for mastodon teeth.
Hmm.
I was not aware of that. Now I gotta go and Google that story.
I'm gonna send you a picture.
Yeah, please do. I gotta see this. So Liz, any last words?
Just good catching up with you, and hopefully, if I don't see you before we do another one, I might see you up at the College of Charleston games.
Oh, 100%. No, I hardly ever miss the women's games
Yeah,
because they're on the weekends, so it's a little more convenient for me. So, yeah, I'll definitely see you there.
awesome.
All right. And thank you all for listening. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find my YouTube channel at Danny Foxworth 843. There you can find all the videos for all the episodes for this podcast, as well as my baseball podcast at The Plate with Danny Foxworth. Since we last spoke with Danny Foxworth, and my candle podcast, A Wicked Good Time with Danny Foxworth. And again, thank y'all so much for tuning in. I always have a blast doing this. Getting to reconnect a monthly reconnection, with my oldest friend ever in life. And it's always a
Do
good
that.
time. I
Yeah.
mean, come on. We got history and it's good to share our history with the listeners. So, with that being said, for Liz and myself, this has been another episode of Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. Until next time, y'all be good. Take it easy.